Yo, 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 what is going on, everyone? Here I am, Sam Long, back from my tour. Well, back, I don't know if I want to call it a tour. I'm back from my round trip flights around the world, right? Because I left from Tucson, I went to San Francisco. I had a 17-hour flight from San Francisco to Singapore over the Pacific Ocean, spent 4 days in Singapore. Then I had a 13-hour flight from Singapore to Helsinki, spent the time in Helsinki, and then had a 10-hour flight from Helsinki to LA, a layover, and then another whatever 3-hour flight from LA back to Tucson. So it was exhausting. Now I'm back in the home life. Baby hasn't been sleeping, but guess what can help you if you need some mental focus so that you can nail YouTube so that I don't mumble my words, you can go and you can get ketone IQ. Obviously works with fat burning, helps training, but it's also helping to keep some mental clarity. So the purpose of this conversation, and I'm going to try and not make a face, admittedly, this does not taste the best, but it's about performance, not about taste. Alrighty, yo. And what do you guys think of my nursery? Here it is back here. I handpicked those two photos. The frog was my favorite animal when I was a kid. So this video is meant to be like a coaching conversation, right? As I coach myself, this is about an analysis of what I felt happened at these past two races. I think you guys know I'm someone who's not going to necessarily be super pleased with the results on paper, right? PTO US Open 5th, PTO Singapore 5th, 70.3 Worlds, and that's a bad one, 12th. And in this instance, though, I want to be very, very clear. I'm actually incredibly proud of myself. I'm incredibly happy with what I achieved. I feel, I don't want to make excuses, but I guess I feel like I did what I was capable of doing this year. And so I want to start by saying, like, okay, I think the job, because if you're an age grouper, you're going to be sitting here and you're going to be saying, like, okay, like, we all have lots going on in life, but okay, as a professional, our job is to manage what we have going on in life and to peak for the key races of the year, right? And you're supposed to set up the whole year so you can have fun and you can release the mind and you can deal with other things at other times of the year, and then you can be really focused and really structured at that time that you have to be. But this year that just wasn't possible for me. I went into this year, obviously, when your baby's going to be due. I knew the baby was due on August 2nd. I then figured out the race schedule. I knew when 70.3 Worlds. I didn't know when these PTO races were and was told, I don't know, sometime in the spring. And so with all this, I kind of went into the year saying, like, okay, I kind of peaked for those May and June races, right? For 70.3 St. George, Gulf Coast, and then 70.3 Boulder. Like, that was where I was at my best this year. We live in a day and an age where we have tons of power meters, we have metrics on everything, and so if I look at my metrics, undoubtedly I performed better there than I did at any of these races. The power was better, the run paces were better, the swim deficits were better, the HRV was better, the resting heart rate was better, every single thing was better, right? But I went in and I said, okay, I have to do my best. I came back to Tucson in July. Really, we had to come back. It was my first summer here. We had to come back, obviously, to prepare and get ready for the baby to be born. And that was yet another variable to control, training in 110-degree temps. Obviously, it was kind of hard. I had to modify my training. I feel I wasn't quite able to execute the training plan in the normal way. And so my hours kind of came down because of that. My volume came down, but I tried to keep the intensity. I think if I could go back, right, as a coach, I would, like next summer, let's say if I'm stuck in Tucson again, I think I would actually try to keep the volume and then lower the intensity. That seems to be the best approach for me. I just seem to be a guy who responds super well to volume. Then anyways, the baby was born. That's what's so interesting is the PTO US Open, like, I went into that race with zero expectations. I was just the happiest ever to race. And so 5th place there, like, I was on top of the moon to get 5th there. But then I came back and then my expectations were higher for Singapore because I didn't have a baby born 2 days before. And I felt like, okay, I should kind of try and set this up. And yeah, anyways, then went to Singapore, got 5th. I made a video about that, so I don't want to delve too much into that. And then 70.3 Worlds, like, okay, in a way, I thought maybe this will be the best one of those three, like, because the most variables are sorted out. I've then got the most time. I had the most time to be in Lati and get situated and so on and so forth. But yeah, like, I mean, it didn't help. We all got really sick from Singapore from the water. I think every single, like 18 out of the 20-person male professional field came down sick with like bad diarrhea and stomach bugs, and some people even came down with COVID. And so I think that really at that moment it was like, okay, let's just like kiss 70.3 Worlds and a good result, goodbye. But I was there, and you know, like I had just raced 2 races at being less than my best, so I'm like, okay, maybe I can overcome this with like mental willpower, with mental strength to be better. And the gun went off, and you know, my diarrhea, I guess you could say, sort of cleared up like the night before the race. The funny thing is, like, I went into the race kind of saying like, you know, my son now poops his pants all the time, so like if I have to poop my pants in the run, I guess I can just be like my son, and I can laugh it off. Obviously that shows like how extreme of a circumstance I was in, that was very much a reality. Thankfully, I did make it through the race with no poop in my pants, but dad jokes to the max. Anyways, I felt like I was just flat all day. I thankfully actually had a pretty good swim, pretty good deficit, but all day the perceived exertion was higher than what it should have been for the pace, both on the swim, the bike, and the run. But I guess like I only know how to race one way, and so I still sort of kept trying to put myself in a position to race. And then I absolutely ran out of gas in the final mile. I think I was in 7th, and then I ended up in 12th in the final mile. I think I was having to take like the most carbohydrates I've ever had to take on the run. So I think something with the sickness meant that like I didn't get carbo loaded right. My glycogen stores were down, and obviously just so much travel. But anyways, ended up in 12th. Obviously, hats off. I mean, we saw someone win who really upset everyone, and that's always a cool thing to see in sports. And then Frederick Funk, who I know really well, and Jan Stratman, really, really happy to see them get on the podium. And here's the thing, though, like, right, if you look at me a year ago, you'd think, oh, Sam, like, surely you're, like, just super pissed off out of your mind on 12th. But I've now raced 70.3 Worlds on, 4 occasions, but, like, 3 consecutive years. And each experience has been like completely different, right? Back in 2021, I went in kind of with not that many expectations, and I ended up getting 2nd. And it was kind of like, whoa. But the sport's changed like drastically since then, because that year, like, I was able to bike totally solo and like obviously achieve 2nd. And I think that's gone now. And I've worked hard on my swim, and my swim's much better. But like the last 2 years, we've seen there's a very secure formula for doing well at 70.3 Worlds, and you have to swim somewhat close to the front, and then you have to bridge to the front, and then, you know, this isn't a conversation about the variables why, but that front group, it just moves faster than otherwise, and then you have to get off, and then you have to be able to run well relatively to those front guys, who's behind doesn't really seem to matter that much, and we've seen that play out the last 2 years. And so anyways, obviously then I went last year to 70.3 Worlds. I dedicated my whole year to it. It was like the absolute focus, and it was just a horrific experience. And I think I still maybe haven't like moved on from that experience, because this year I went into 70.3 Worlds. Like, I don't think I talked about 70.3 Worlds like once the entire year. It was never like, oh yeah, I'm so excited for 70.3 Worlds. Let me get so jazzed up for this. This is what I'm training for. This is what I'm excited for. Like, it was always like kind of like, okay, I'm going to do these PTO races, and then I'm going to go to 70.3 Worlds and see what's possible. And obviously, like, sickness aside, maybe that's not the best formula. So anyways, like, I look at this last month kind of in 2 different ways. One is the athlete sort of like, oh gosh, these results should be better, or maybe I wish they were better, or like I didn't get to showcase truly what I'm capable of. But at the same time, I went in knowing like, okay, I'm kind of going to be like a wounded soldier, so to speak, a wounded bird at all these races, and I just have to do the best I can. And with that, I feel I did the best I can. I actually feel I exceeded expectations, right? Like I dealt with so much. We've seen there's always been this kind of like daddy curse in triathlon, right? Like, okay, these guys become a dad and then like performance can suffer for like 8 months or something or a year, and people are just like, they're really dragging, and like I turned it around in 2 days, and so I put that behind me. I've managed like so much more on my plate. I just showed such positive durability, and that's, at the end of the day, that's what I'm the most happy about. And so I can hold my head high. I feel I had an absolutely amazing season. Of course, I know like it's a little odd, but like I peaked in May and I peaked in June, and I have for myself, I have 3 absolutely incredible results from a data standpoint that shows what I'm capable of achieving. And, you know, I just have to align logistics. Basically, I have to be a better logistical expert, not have a baby right before the race, not get sick right before the races, manage travel better, and then I think I'll be able to showcase that. And so I'm happy. It was just so great to go and see all the fans all around the world. I will say, though, a trip around the world is absolutely exhausting. I'm not keen to do that again anytime soon. I think too many trips of this, and you'd literally be taking years off. I'd be taking years off my career, and so the PTO expanding is the best possible thing, but I'm going to be smart and careful, I think, about which races I choose to minimize travel so that I can have a long career. So anyways, that's the update. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Back at home and maybe getting ready for another race, but I don't want to commit to that yet because I'm just trying to see how things go. Thanks, and yo.